If you've ever stood over a tomato plant wondering why its fruits remain stubbornly green long after they've reached full size, you're not alone. This is one of the most frustrating moments for home gardeners. You've done the watering, the feeding, and the staking, but still no ripening. While many people assume the problem lies in a lack of fertilizer or poor soil, the truth is often far more surprising. In fact, the issue is almost never about nutrition at all. In this guide, we're going to uncover the actual reasons why tomatoes refuse to ripen, and it has more to do with light, air, stress, and natural chemistry than what you feed them. If you want to bring your tomatoes from green to red without guessing, stay with this video. You're about to learn the exact signals tomatoes need to finish the job. To understand why your tomatoes are still green, it helps to know what causes ripening in the first place. Tomatoes use a plant hormone called ethylene to trigger the transformation from firm, green fruit to soft, flavorful red. As ethylene builds up in the fruit, it triggers a breakdown of chlorophyll and a rise in pigments like lycopene. The tomato softens, sweetens, and changes color. However, this process only works efficiently when temperatures and environmental conditions fall into a pretty narrow range. The sweet spot for ripening is actually between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. If daytime temperatures soar beyond that, like 90 or higher, the ripening process just kind of stalls. The plant essentially puts the brakes on ethylene production to avoid cellular stress. So if you're experiencing a hot summer or are growing in a warm climate, the fruit may appear healthy, but, it just won't change color until things cool down. So, a great tip is to provide shade cloth over your plants during the hottest part of the day. Just a few degrees of protection can, really make all the difference. When tomatoes get too much nitrogen, they focus their energy on growing leaves and stems instead of finishing their fruit. This is especially common when gardeners keep fertilizing the same way throughout the entire season. That lush green canopy may look impressive, but honestly it comes at a cost slow or even non-existent ripening. To fix this, simply reduce or stop nitrogen applications once the first fruits form. If you do fertilize, switch to a formula that emphasizes potassium and phosphorus. This shift signals the plant to move from growth mode into fruiting and ripening mode. Tomatoes need a good amount of light around the actual fruit clusters to fully ripen. This doesn't mean blasting them with direct sun at all hours, but rather making sure the plant isn't overly leafy to the point of suffocation. Dense foliage blocks airflow and traps moisture, which also slows ethylene buildup. You want your fruits to be slightly shaded but still accessible to diffused light and air movement. Light pruning of lower and inner branches can open up the canopy. Don't remove everything at once, just enough to let air in and help the plant regulate its own temperature. If your plant has produced a large number of fruits, it may be struggling to ripen them all. Tomatoes are energy intensive, and if you allow every single flower to develop into fruit, the plant spreads itself too thin. This often results in tomatoes that sit green on the vine for weeks. Try removing smaller or misshapen fruits. Also, pinch off new flowers late in the season so the plant can focus all its remaining energy on ripening what's already grown. You'll often notice a significant improvement in the speed and quality of ripening once the plant isn't overburdened. Before synthetic ripening agents, growers discovered natural ways to concentrate ethylene. One of the simplest old-world tricks is to place bananas near your tomato plants. Bananas produce high levels of ethylene as they ripen. By hanging mesh bags of bananas or other overripe fruit near your green tomatoes, you can kickstart the ripening process without harming the plant. This works especially well for tomato varieties that are slow to finish in cooler weather, or for clusters growing under heavy leaves. It's nature helping nature, simple, safe, and, highly effective. Another historical trick, especially in dry farming cultures, involved burying small clay pots near tomato roots and adding decomposing organic matter inside. As this matter broke down, it released ethylene gas and heat in a controlled soil-level environment. The warm and microbially active zone encouraged faster ripening above. Modern gardeners can replicate this by burying a compostable bag of banana peels and vegetable scraps near their tomato root zone. So just make sure you cover it well to avoid attracting pests. This not only boosts ethylene but also adds beneficial microbial activity that, honestly, really enhances plant health. If you're deep into the season and still staring at green tomatoes, here's a rapid reset strategy you can try. Stop fertilizing, prune about 20% of the inner foliage, and remove small or new fruits. This can really help speed things up. Next, make sure you're providing consistent watering. Water stress, whether that's too much or too little, can honestly stop ripening altogether. Then, shade the plant if you're dealing with high afternoon heat or, move containers to a cooler spot if you can. Finally, add a couple of overripe bananas either at the base of the plant or just in breathable bags nearby. Next season, you might want to consider growing heat-resistant or early maturing varieties, especially if you usually deal with those prolonged hot spells. Plant tomatoes with enough spacing for airflow right from the beginning, and, always switch to a ripening-focused care plan once the first fruits start forming. Keep fertilizer balanced. More isn't always better. And, always support your plants to prevent fruit from becoming buried under leaves or resting on damp soil. Tomato plants aren't broken when they fail to ripen. They're simply responding to conditions that block their natural rhythm. With the tips you've just learned, you can coax even the most stubborn tomatoes into blushing red without relying on synthetic tricks or constant fertilizer. If this video helped you solve your ripening mystery, be sure to subscribe to Botanical Bliss and share it with other growers who may be facing the same issue. We're here to help your garden thrive, naturally and beautifully.